In the World Forum is all all UN meetings is happening here. All big events is hosted by this forum. So it's a premium location because World Economic Forum is premium, and we want to keep it like this. As I said, we are not doing it alone. This is the first event that we are doing together with the local government and partners. That's why I want to invite one very special person, Mrs. Julia Spoor. She is from the Hague, and she wants to welcome you all personally.
Namaskar, Bharat. Dear ladies and gentlemen, it is a great privilege to stand here in front of you today representing the Hague partners. Sri Sadanand and I are thrilled to have been given this wonderful opportunity to warmly welcome you to The Hague, the host city of the World Hindu Economic Forum in 2020 and our hometown. The Hague is one of the Netherlands' most historic cities of global importance, easily reachable from anywhere in the world. The city that is also referred to as the International City of Peace and Justice, Delta, provides a great business environment for corporates and skills ups that wish to expand their business in the Netherlands and Europe. Herewith, I would like to share you this personal invitation to The Hague from our director. No sound.
It's always, sometimes it's doesn't matter. Net op de klas moet je even hier blijven en dan naar de voet. Ging het goed, hè? Ja, ja, ja.
While they are fixing the video, yeah, I'm going to ask Julia to join us for a group photo. What do you think? Please come.
Can I go back to my presentation? I will finish it, then we can show the video later. Okay. Ah. Okay. Can I continue? We don't have the movie, I think. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Once again, can you do it?
My name is Nienke van der Malen. I'm the director of the Hague Partners. Today, I've been given a privilege and honor to cordially invite you to The Hague, the Netherlands in 2020, where we will be welcoming the World Hindu Economic Forum. The event will take place in the famous World Forum, a venue where international leaders convene and make impactful decisions. The Netherlands are a business destination, proclaimed by Forbes as one of the best countries for business. Holland's strategic location at Europe's front door provides the perfect springboard into the European markets. Together with access to talents, cutting-edge research and innovations in the field of science, technology, engineering, agriculture, waste and water management, logistics and medicine. So, there's no surprise that multinational businesses like Shell, DSM, Unilever, HCL, Tech Mahindra, Tata, Wipro, Infosys have chosen the Netherlands for their headquarters or their European office. The Hague is the international city of peace and justice, home to the Dutch Parliament, royal family, UN organizations, 120 embassies, and numerous international institutions. The Hague is one of the most international cities in the Netherlands, and it also welcomes the largest Hindu community in our country. We're looking forward to seeing you in The Hague, the Netherlands, in 2020. Namaste.
The Hague, Miapka Swagat Hey.
Thank you, Gagan. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, invitation from the Hindu community and also from our municipality, 6, 7, and 8 July 2020. And we want all, so we decided to say everybody who registered today or tomorrow, we're gonna give a 50% offer. And so we want you all there. And it's, I will say, come and see also my Ayodhya. जहां पर राम भक्त होता है वहां अभी अयोध्या है, वहां अभी श्री हनुमान जी है. आप now अब तुम लोग आइए हमारा अयोध्या देख लिए. अब तब तुम लोग जानिए कि कैसा लोग वहां रहीला और तुम लोग सब जानिए कि हम लोग तुमके कैसे हम लोग तुम लोग के स्वागत करूंगा. Before I end, I want to say I thank you, my team. They are here. The very committed team, and I'm very proud of them. And see you all next year, 2020. Namaste.
Thank you, Sheetalji. Just before the registrations closed for Mumbai conference, there was a message in social media. I am attending Whef. Are you? Like that, I am going to register my family. 4 of us are going to attend. I want to see how many of us are going to join. You got your number, sir. See? So he said 50% off also. See, marketing is very different. Nah? Now, we have been waiting, and it is my pleasure to invite most respected Dr. Subramaniam Swamiji, who is a known politician, economist, and a statistician who serves as a member of parliament. Swamiji has served as a member of Planning Commission of Bharat and was the cabinet minister in Chandrasekhar ji government. In 1978, Swamiji was member of the group of eminent persons to be invited to Geneva, Switzerland, to prepare a report of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development on economic cooperation between developing countries. In 1994, Subramanian Swamiji was chairman of the Commission on Labor Standards and International Trade. He has written many articles and books on foreign affairs of Bharat, dealing largely with China, Pakistan, and Israel. You have been waiting for this moment, and it is the time. I think we will give him a very big welcome.
Thank you very much. It's my privilege to be here today to address the World Hindu Economic Forum. And the topic given to me is how we can fast forward the Indian economy. We are already, as Professor Vaidyanathan pointed out, the third largest GDP country in the world. Not comparing GDP on the basis of exchange rates, but on the basis of a fixed price of one country. For example, in India, in this hotel or any of the other hotels, five-star hotels, you have a haircut. Compare that to the price of a haircut in an American five-star hotel. The ratio would be not $1 to 72 rupees as is present, but the ratio would be much less. In fact, it will be 1:10. So what happens is the United Nations had decided that GDP of India in physical terms, all the items that are going to the GDP, will not be multiplied by the Indian prices, but it will be multiplied by the American prices in dollars. Or in comparing American GDP with India, the American output will be valued at Indian prices. So either the American price will be common to India and the United States, or the United States prices will be common to India and the United States. This way, the effect of the exchange rate, which is all the time fluctuating and doesn't represent the true value of the production, this concept is called the PPP, Purchasing Power Parity Measurement. And this, on that basis, when you rank countries, China has recently become number one. Number two is United States, and number three is India. If you look at it in the exchange rate, then India is the sixth or seventh. Now it has become seventh because the exchange rate, every time the exchange rate falls, our GDP contracts in dollar terms. So today we are probably the seventh largest, but in real terms of PPP, we are the third largest in the world. So let us know, let us realize that today we are in GDP terms number three. In per capita terms, of course, we are far down because we are the second largest population in the world compared to China. Now, the question is, can we fast forward to become number one, beat both the United States and China? We can, and it is not surprising because at one time we were the most prosperous country in the world. In 1636, trade with India and United States started from a ship coming from Massachusetts to Kanchipuram in South India. And that, you see, came with an empty ship to buy goods from India and take it back to the United States, at least to Massachusetts. So the king of Kanchipuram, that area, was a Chola king. He invited these American sailors one day to his palace and asked them whether they are comfortable and everything is going well. And they said, yes, we are being treated very well and we are very happy to buy these goods, but we have one complaint, that we have to bring an empty ship, buy here and go. Why can't you buy something from us? And this has come in a book published in the United States because in Massachusetts, in the city of Belmont, there was a factory producing ice. It was called the Tudor Ice Company. And its history is in a form of a book which describes what I'm about to tell you. So the king said, we produce everything in India. What can I buy from you? They said, well, something you should buy from us so that we don't come with empty ship. So he said, I have never seen ice. In Kanchipuram is so hot, where can you see ice? But of course, I can go to the Himalayas and see ice, but then it's a long distance for me to go. But I hear in your country, ice falls from the sky. Actually, meant the snow falls from the sky. And if you bring ice from your country, I will buy it. So the people who were traders, they went back and they found a way. There was a big lake in Belmont which freezes in winter, and they used to cut and take the ice, put sawdust, put it in a ship and bring it all the way. So in 1636, the first export from the United States to India was ice. That much backward they were, and that much forward we were. Never forget that. We were for thousands of years the most prosperous country in the world. China was second. But then the Islamic invasion came and our GDP growth rate started declining first, then the GDP itself started declining. And by 1750, China had overtaken India. Then came the British. And the British brought it even further down. British also were, along with other European powers, they were not ruling China, but they were extracting revenue from China after settling in Shanghai and these other places. But in India, the British were ruling India. And they extracted resources. In my latest book called Reset, I have calculated that the 150 years of Britain from 1857, 90 years of Britain from 1857 to 1947, Britain transferred out of India in form of gold, jewels, etc., $71 trillion in current prices. $71 trillion. And therefore, India became poor as a consequence. Britain also blocked us from getting new technology which was being discovered in Europe and Britain, like locomotives, Bessemer style. So we became poor not because we were traditionally poor, we were made poor. And we should have recovered much faster after independence, but Jawaharlal Nehru decided to impose on our country a Soviet economic model. And Soviet economic model means what? Extract resources from agriculture and finance industrialization. Stalin did it in Russia. But in Russia, it made sense. I mean, in the Soviet Union, it made sense. Because there was, before communism came to Soviet Union, the agriculture had a revolution and was producing bumper crops. India was not like that. The British, after 1857, when they saw the Rani of Jhansi was supported by the peasantry of India and nearly overthrew the British, except for some foolish mistakes we made, by which we lost that battle. So therefore, they decided that never again this rebellion should take place. So they invented this zamindari system, where they empowered criminals to extract as much resources as they wanted from the farmers, but give a fixed amount to the British to run the British government in India. And that's how our agriculture became poorer and poorer and poorer. In 1947, it was bone dry, and the model that we adopted was wrong. And that is why in 1965, we had a major food crisis. And fortunately, by then, Jawaharlal Nehru had gone away upwards. And Lal Bahadur Shastri came. He brought in Green Revolution. Only 10% of the farmers benefited by the Green Revolution measures, but that was enough for us to become self-sufficient by 1975. And since then, we have never needed to import from abroad food grains for our people. This is the fertility of our soil is like that. So what I'm saying today is, when people say, can we fast forward? Potentially, of course, we can fast forward. India has everything. During the 40 years of the Soviet model, 1950 to 1990, our growth rate was only 3.5% per year. 3.5% per year cannot solve any problem. In fact, the communists used to call this the Hindu rate of growth. People like Amartya Sen used to call it the Hindu rate of growth. Actually, it was the communist rate of growth, because the model was unsuitable. It was not suitable anywhere in the world. Nowhere in the world you found. We used to hear stories that in Soviet Union there is no unemployment, there is no inflation, there is no poverty. In 1990 we found there is no Soviet Union also. It's broken up into 16 countries today. Uzbekistan, Ukraine, etc., Kazakhstan. There are all 16 countries. All that is left is a small, much reduced area, which now is called Russia. So in our country, We lost 40 years because of the foolishness of Jawaharlal Nehru. And he imposed this model on us. His daughter continued it. And in 1990, Mr. Chandrasekhar became Prime Minister. I became Minister. I was the senior most minister. And the first thing we started doing is how to reform our economic system. That is by bringing the market forces into bear. We didn't, although I prepared the blueprints, but we didn't last long. The government fell, and then Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister. And one of the first things he did was invite me to join the government as a minister. On one condition, I joined the Congress party. I told him that I cannot do. He said, why? I said, Congress party, you are just a tenant in that. The owner is the Nehru family. So any day they can kick you out. And that's what happened in the end. So I will not join. So therefore, he created a commission on the WTO thing and gave me cabinet rank so I could attend cabinet meeting. And with Narasimha Rao, his sagacity, his capacity, we produced economic reform. And from 3.5% per year, in 5 years, it went to 8%. That's how the change took place. So look at the potential of this country. Just a small change of abolishing quotas and licenses made India grow from 3.5% per year to 8%. Today, if we follow the right economic policies, and I am sorry to say, we are not. The Prime Minister is trying very hard on Make in India, on Ujjwala, on lavatories everywhere for women so that they don't have to go in the open field. All these good things he is doing, but they are all microeconomic measures. What the country needs is a macroeconomic policy. And that we have not yet done. We will do it because now we are facing some problems. So serious thinking has begun. But there is this macroeconomics is, you see, microeconomics means buyer and seller. If the buyer charges too high, then the seller charges too high, the buyer will not buy. So it's a bilateral thing. Whereas macroeconomics is multilateral. If you do something in one sector, it affects another sector. In our country, you see, in macroeconomics came to being after the Great Depression in the United States. The Great Depression came because in the late 1920s, the US president called his advisors and economists and said, my elections are coming, but the unemployment in the country is too high. How do I reduce it? So they said the wages, because of the collective bargaining and the trade unions, has gone too high. So people are not hiring. They are using machines. So therefore, what you need to do is persuade the trade unions to lower the the rate of wages. And then tell them that after the election, you can raise it. So the US president spoke to the unions and said, for my sake, please lower it for about 1-2 months. And after the elections, you can raise it again. What happened is once the wage rates came down, then what happened is that the unemployment increased. Just the opposite. And you couldn't understand. And the Great Depression came. People were out on the streets. They had no jobs. And the reason was, when you lower the wages across the board in the economy, the purchasing power also goes down. So demand also went down. In our country, we have had the same problem. We got somebody called Raghuram Rajan from America. They say he's a great economist and all. He was not an economist. He's a finance man, like Professor Vaidyanath. He's also Professor of Finance. But he has the benefit of my advice and so on. So he's now... So what did Raghuram Rajan do? He said, I want to control inflation. Therefore, I have to control the money supply. And therefore, I will raise the interest rates. He kept on raising interest rates. And as he raised interest rates, unemployment started increasing in our country. Today, they are blaming our government for it. He should never have been, made a Reserve Bank governor by our government. He was actually imported into India by the previous government, Manmohan Singh's government. I had opposed his appointment. And finally, when he had done enough damage, the Prime Minister agreed and sent him home. And there was a furor because people didn't understand what he was doing. He was deliberately raising interest rates, which means what? Yes, you can control money supply and therefore inflation. But at the same time, the cost of capital goes up, and the small and medium industries, which are always at the margin, they began collapsing. And today's recession started with that, and it has continued. So therefore, for our economy, we don't need the higher interest rates. We need low interest rates so that people can invest. And so this policy has to change. We have still not been able to. We have stopped the raising of interest rates, but we are at this stage not lowered it. In my opinion, nobody should pay for his loans to banks, which should be an interest rate of higher than 9%. And at the same time, fixed deposit savings should also get 9%. If you do that, you will see that investment will start booming and our growth rate will go. India has enough money in our country, but the people are now concerned, how do we invest it and where do we invest it? So interest rates were the reasons why today we are having this. Our growth rate is going on, getting lower and lower. People are not investing. Even biscuit factories are closing down because people are not buying biscuits. They don't know what is going to happen. There's a great deal of uncertainty. But all this can change. And in my opinion, India prospers whenever there's a crisis. When there was a food crisis, Green Revolution came. When there was a foreign exchange crisis in 1990, then we got economic reforms. When there was an attack by the Chinese in 1962, our defense is improved. Now we are the third largest defense force in the world. So I think we should regularly have crises so that people come out of their complacency. So therefore, now what do we need to do to fast forward? Fast forward means what? We must grow at the rate of 10% per year. Right now, we are only, maximum we have hit is 8%. And that was in 2015. After that, coming down. Now it's 5.5%. I think next year it will be 5% unless we make drastic changes in our economic policy. What should be the economic policy of India? We are a 82% Hindu country. And any policy which is dictated from the central government is not going to be followed by our people. People must be empowered. In the ancient days, the ancient texts like Chanakya's, he said the economic policy, one pillar must be Swadeshi. He's used different words, but I'm putting it in modern words. He says Swadeshi, and the other should be Vikendrikaran, decentralization. We never had a central authority like we have today. In Chanakya's times, he had Janapadas, 600 Janapadas. And we have today, what about 35 states and union territories combined. But in Chanakya's time, it was 600. The smaller the state unit, the better. And even in our country, we see that Uttarakhand is doing much better today because it has been separated from Uttar Pradesh. So did Haryana do better once it was separated from Punjab. Chhattisgarh is doing much better when it was separated from Madhya Pradesh. Smaller states are always better. And today, Telangana has also picked up very substantially because it has been separated from Andhra. So I would say that the concept in India should be central control should be minimum, decentralized should be maximum. And what should be the decentralization that you should do? First of all, we should have minimum regulations. And minimum regulations is the only way to finish corruption. Our capital is inefficiently being used because people are to avoid paying unnecessary taxes. The taxes are too high, the harassment is too high, so the people have begun to evade, and there is the growth of black money. So the answer to we have got such complicated taxes today that people don't understand what to do. This GST, for example, this is at the present stage of India, it was not advisable to bring it. But Mr. Jaitley was insistent, and today we have a situation, there's so much to abide by. I had one day a small businessman come from Barmer, and he said, I'm having a lot of problems of complying with GST. I said, why? He said, they are saying, upload your form, upload your form. He says, वहाँ तो बिजली भी नहीं है, तो मैं कहाँ upload करूँगा? I don't even have a computer. So these complications that we have brought, they have to be simplified. What is the first simplification India has to do for fast forwarding? Abolish income tax. Then you will see the rate of investment, the rate of savings will go up. People will save much more. Income tax today is the most unbalanced tax that we have in our country, because agriculture, no income tax. In the non-agricultural sectors, the people below the poverty line, no income tax. But the rich have chartered accountants, no offense meant to Vaidyanathan. He's not a chartered accountant, but he's in the same area of finance, you see. The chartered accountants will give expenses and deductions and this and that. They hardly pay anything compared to what they earn. And the poor or the working class, they struggle, but they pay some tax because it's all cut in the source, at the source. It's the middle class, the young entrepreneurs, the startups, they are the most harassed by income tax. And how much do you get from personal income tax? 4 lakh crore rupees. How are you going to replace it? When I got the government, the Supreme Court to order that the spectrum that was given away almost free by A. Raja, that allocation of spectrum should be cancelled. And instead, spectrum must be auctioned. And 2G spectrum was auctioned, and we got 4 lakh crores, exact amount to this thing. Next year also we got 4 lakh crores. Now we got 3G. We are 2G, now 3G, then 4G, 5G is coming also. So there is never going to be stop. The spectrum demand is not going to stop. It's not a one year thing. And of course, you know what, phone, but that's all. Only could talk. Then 2G came, you could send emails, you could send your pictures. 3G came, you could send videos. 4G came, then you can send 10,000 pages of documents. So each stage is an improvement. So, of course, I remember one day jokingly asking Manmohan Singh, do you know what 2G is? He said, yes, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. Actually, he said Sonia Ji and Rahul Ji. but that was a different G. But anyway, the fact is that many people don't know that this spectrum is so valuable. Coal blocks, we were giving it almost free. Today, we have still not done a full-fledged auction of coal blocks. But when we do it, you'll get 11 lakh crores. That is 3 times or 3.5 times what is got in income tax. So income tax should be abolished. They will be dancing in the streets, I'm telling you. Public will be so happy with it. And there is alternative ways of raising that money for it. So this is one thing that can fast forward. The second thing that can fast forward is we must build infrastructure. You have been to China, you see the infrastructure there. How did they finance it? They just printed notes. Now, everybody here gets frightened when I say you can print notes. Well, some fiscal deficit. What crazy ideas we have imported from the World Bank. So what I'm saying is that when you print notes and then pay the workers for working on the infrastructure, with that money, he becomes part of the demand. But because you have created this infrastructure, the economy starts booming. And so while demand is increased because you put currency into his hand, but production of goods and services also starts increasing. That is the way for us to move. China has done that. And that today China has gone so far ahead of India. Of course, it's not gone so far that we can't catch up. Of course, we can catch up because China is having other problems. What happened in China's model, you must understand, they came up with this novel method that East Asia, Japan, Taiwan, etc., Korea, these countries previously used to export electronics, for example, to United States, and they produced it much cheaper. So Panasonic and all these Japanese companies, Taiwanese companies, they all started creating such a havoc in America that Motorola collapsed. Many of the electronics companies of the Americans closed down. Anyway, the Americans said, well, these are our allies. So they began buying from East Asia. Then East Asia prospered and their labor became expensive. Once their labor became expensive, they could no more advantageously export to United States and Europe. China realized that, so they said to the East Asian countries, you send your semi-processed goods to us, and we will do all the labor-intensive part. For example, Lenovo. Lenovo, the basic circuit is produced in Taiwan. It comes to China, they put a keyboard on it, they put the screen on it, and then put the name Lenovo and made in China. Most of the things that are made in China, industrial goods, are not produced in China. All it is that they are doing is adding value and then exporting it. So if you see Chinese data, the East Asian and China trade relationship, China is in deficit. It imports more than it exports to East Asia. But when you look at the European and American trade, you find China is in huge surplus. And so it makes up for the loss to East Asia and has grown. But now Chinese labor has also gone up. So if tomorrow India were to say to East Asia, why you're going to China? China's labor is getting very expensive. Our skilled labor is still very cheap. You come through to India and we will then do the exporting. But nobody wants to come here because your infrastructure is very poor. And also all kinds of regulations are there. And so we have to simplify so that we can import from East Asia, add value and export. So this is another way of fast forwarding. The Chinese did it, we can do it too. Second thing is, we have so many advantages we don't realize. We think that agriculture is a liability. Agriculture is the most promising sector for India, I'm telling you, because first of all, take the price of rice. It is one of the lowest in the world. Price of wheat, it's much lower than the American market. You take the price of milk, it's one-sixth the price in Europe. The milk that is produced. And now they have discovered that our cows are producing what is they call as A2 milk, which is medically far superior to the cows that produce milk in Europe and America. So cow milk is cheap. Flowers, our flowers are as good quality as Amsterdam, and yet we are not able to. We are not, the agricultural sector has not exported. And I also want to tell you, God has been very kind to India. 12 months of the year you can do agriculture. That means you can grow 3 crops. But we are only growing one crop, or at most in some areas 2 crops. That capacity we should use. So where I'm telling you today, and my last point will be, because I know he has stood up, which means you want me to sit down. What I'm saying is, our Indians have a long history, and we are different from a country which has never been a developed country. We have been developed country for centuries till foreign invasions took place. And now we have, in the past 70 years, we did not have the right model. So, therefore, now we must recognize one of our strengths is the people of India. And what is the proof? Look how well Indians are doing abroad. Indians are doing very well in all over the world, but not in India as well, because the opportunities that we Indians face in other countries is such that we are able to exploit it and grow. Today, if you go to America, every motel is owned by a Patel. So now they have started calling motels also potels, you see. So this is the quality of the Indian, and we have the youngest population of all the big countries. 70% of our population is below the age of 35. So what does it mean? If we give them proper education and they start inventing, there are many things we can, but actually the sea is, you can, like the Israelis, you can desalination to drinking water. And we have done it in a few places. In a desalination plant by which now they are water. So in India, these are easy technology. We have 60% of the world's thorium. If we convert that into reactor fuel, it will generate enormous of power. So the story about India is potential is enormous, but it requires us giving up this sense of diffidence. During Nehru's time, we thought that we can't grow faster than 3.5%. Today, we think we can't grow faster than India can grow at 10% per year. We have the ability, the resources, the capacity. If we grow at 10% for 10 years, we will become, fast forward, the most developed country of the world. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank all the panelists, especially Professor Vaidyanathan ji, Dr. Subramanian Swamy ji. Now I will invite Pujya Swamy Gyananji to say a few words.
I'm not coming here to say a few words, just sit down for a second. You do not understand, when Sardhanand Seetal announced, normal registration fees is 300 euro. But for you people, for today and tomorrow, those who are here, if registered, he has given half, 150 euro only. So I'm telling you, this is opportunity, you should go and register. His stall is outside. Otherwise, after 1 o'clock tomorrow, it will be 300. So this is opportunity. So he's given a specially offer as especially to you. He's very kind to you. Second thing, we are almost 9 o'clock, 8:51. How many of you want to come tomorrow morning here 8:51? I'm giving 12 hours. If you come here 8:51, then I will spend half an hour discussing many things with you, which will give you inspiration. You are ready? Okay. Namaste.
Thank you all. Now it's time for dinner. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. As we disperse for dinner, again, kindly keep a check on the bags. Make sure you take your own. And also, we have breakfast ready tomorrow to be served at 7:30 in the breakfast area and also for the delegates in 55E's. Make sure for 8:51, you're here at 8:30 to get seats closer to the podium. Thank you.
This is the opportunity, photo opportunity. Those who want to take photo, please carry on.
Delegates, Bangalore delegates will meet here in this hall after the dinner. Bangalore delegates will meet here after the dinner.